Coach Mooney, you've always said that you sort of enjoy these Davidson games, win or lose. Could you sort of expand on that? I mean, they seem to have a flow that you appreciate more than a lot of these other games that are.
Yeah. Well, I really admire their program and appreciate how they play, how they recruit, how they defend, everything. I feel like they're, at Davidson, there's no stone left unturned. They're prepared for anything that could happen, both ends of the floor, special situations. And it shows up most probably on their offense and their style of play. The ball moves very freely and easily from one player to the next. Their movement off the ball is excellent. They've done that with really good players. It's not like they've done that. It's not like all role players. They've had one of the best players in the history of the game, and great players in the history of our conference, recent history of our conference. And I've just always admired how they play, and I feel like the games with Richmond and Davidson do have a nice flow to them from a basketball fan's perspective, that the ball moves up and down the court, and the basketball is usually pretty good. Not a guarantee, but usually.
The Spiders' record is very good. It's even better percentage-wise when Delaney's in the lineup healthy. Why is that, and what has he brought? Even though his scoring isn't perhaps what it was at Wagner, he's very successful here.
Yeah. Well, he's a very good player. Number one, he's a tremendous leader, and he's one of one. I mean, he's a unique guy in terms of his willingness to lead. You have to be willing to do that. I think more and more, and that's number one. His voice, his example, everything is built for leadership. That's a huge part of it. He's a very good defender, tough-minded, gritty, smart. And then as an offensive player, he's just a very good all-around player. He has a really good sense, really good timing. He can create breakdowns in the defense with his movement, with his drives. Has a good feel for where everybody is, and I feel like him being here even more will help him even more with those kinds of things. I think pace and change of speed, because he is so fast, I think will continue to improve, and injuries set him back to a certain degree. But his competitiveness, his leadership, those are two huge qualities, and he has those in a big way. And then he's a very good all-around player.
Given where you guys are currently in the standings and controlling your fate, destiny, whatever, how much fun is it right now to be a part of this team?
Yeah, well, even before that, it's great to be part of this particular group. We're fortunate in that when you go in the portal, you have far less time to evaluate the people that you're recruiting. It's a lot easier to recruit the basketball side of it, statistically, and they've done this against college players. But it's harder because it's so fast to evaluate the people. And we were so fortunate to get 3 great guys this year, 3 great guys last year, and so. Their overall how they go about it, just how they approach practice. They're easy to smile, laugh, but just as easy to compete and play hard. So it's been so fun to be a part of it. And then the success that we've had, makes it even better because games are that much more important. We've won in tight games and close games where we need big stops or big shots. So that enhances it. But this is a great group to be around no matter what.
Talk about key plays and key stops in big games. You had that at Davidson, the first meeting.
Yeah.
What will be a key Saturday to get the sweep against them?
Well, when you play against, number one, Huffman's a great player, and so that's number one. And then the second part is just how they move. Some teams will try to get a mismatch, attack that mismatch. Davidson's going to play and have the mismatch show up just in their constant movement and their reads. They're not just moving to move; they're always moving to try to score. And I think that having good ball pressure, being really alert when you're not on the ball, those are 2 really, really important things for us. And then guarding Huffman, he had a good game against us down at their place, and he's a great player who's improved tremendously during his career, and really guarding and containing him as best we can.
You mentioned about the portal in the last 2 years, getting good quality men as opposed to players, have they even exceeded what you expected from them when you decided, hey, these are the guys I think can fit in this system?
Yes, they have. Partly because you can anticipate a higher maturity level from a 21-year-old than a high school senior. But there also could have had some bad habits developed or some things that are just contrary to how we do it at Richmond. And they've exceeded that mostly because of they're easy to coach, they accept coaching, and they're very competitive. That's a big one. They're very competitive and want to win each drill. They want to win each scrimmage. They want to, win each 4 minutes, all those kinds of things. So they have exceeded that for sure.
Hey, Chris, the assist to field goal ratio has been up the last couple games, but you made the comment, I think, on the post-game radio the other night that this is a team that doesn't necessarily have to do that to be successful offensively. Neal, Jordan, Jai can get their own shots. How much is that a new evolution, maybe, of Spider offense?
Yeah, I think that's probably what I've been referring to as our ceiling. After we talked about that on the postgame, is that if the more of those we can get, the better. Because Jordan scores a lot of times off of his own dribble, Jai off of his own dribble, Neal off of his own dribble. And I'm not statistically driven, so it doesn't matter to me necessarily how many assists we get. But when you do get assists, especially a team that has guys who can score in their own way, then that likely means those baskets were a little bit easier. And the more easy baskets you can get in a college game, the better. I mean, they're very, very worthwhile because you didn't have to create as much or do as much individually. So I hope that number can stay high because I think that'll mean that we're moving the ball really well and we're getting some easier shots.
Does the son coach any differently than the dad? Has anything changed at all?
Not necessarily that I can tell. To his credit, I think Matt has done a great job, and obviously Coach McKillop is Hall of Fame in my opinion. But I think Matt, having been there so long, there's very, very much a particular way they do things. It's a great formula. It's very successful. So I'm sure that maybe the way he communicated, the guys inside the program would know, but not from where I sit.
How have you been able, to adjust your philosophies on both sides? I know you have the Princeton offense and then the matchup zone, but it's kind of gone away defensively a little bit. Was that difficult for you to kind of adjust? And if not, how have you been able to do it seamlessly given the talent that you have?
I would say that I have been able to adjust, and that hasn't really been, the reasons we had to adjust, those days were hard. We were just, we were really, the main one was I think Jacob and Grant were freshmen, or we had a very young team and we were terrible defensively, and we probably would have been terrible no matter what. We were particularly young. That impacted us, and then we made that switch. And then since Coach Boyden has come, we've done some different things defensively. So that hasn't been difficult. I think that's what, you need to embrace those things. In recruiting, there's been a tremendous amount of change. On the floor, there's change. The game, when I was first here, there weren't as many, we played two perimeter-based forwards, but we were unique in that way. Most teams played two interior front court players, and that is unheard of now. So everything changes and evolves. I think that's part of the fun of it.
Delani, was there an advantage to missing 10 games with a fractured left wrist in any way, shape, or form?
I guess you can say it was a little bit of an advantage. Like I said, I harped on this before. It was just seeing the game in a different way, from being on the bench and being able to help my teammates in a different way, staying engaged. So I would say it's an advantage, but it also does have its disadvantages. I wasn't able to get my rhythm as quick as the other guys on the team. Coming back into the lineup, it was just main focus was winning. It wasn't about me trying to get my stats or anything. So advantages, definitely it was a blessing and a curse. That's how I look at it.
Coach Mooney said earlier this season he saw the offensive ceiling for this team being very high. Last couple games sort of exhibited that. What's different, and how do you feel you're playing on offense?
Well, definitely I feel like our offense is credited to the big fella, 32 in the paint. Whenever he's playing, whenever he's clicking, the offense just it flows better, it moves better, especially when he's being aggressive because he opens up a lot of shots for other people. Especially we know Jordan he can score in bunches and that's very helpful at nights. But when Neil's also doing the same thing and Jordan's scoring in bunches and Ja and Zayde are hitting shots and then our bench we're getting production from everywhere. I feel like it just all starts with Neil.
Hey, so many guys who move up a level when they transfer in the spring or summer look to be a more focal part of where they're going rather than where they came from. It's sort of been the other way for you. You probably could have been more of a centerpiece guy at Wagner than you are at Bridger. Can you share your thoughts about that and when you look back at that decision, what you wanted to get out of it and what you're getting out of it?
So I think it's different ways to think about it of a centerpiece. You know, I may not be the leading scorer, the leader assist guy, but I feel like my voice is the one that stands out the most on this team. And I feel like from that aspect, that's where you can call me a centerpiece. You know, just being that leader, being that dog, and getting everyone on the same page night in, night out. I feel like that's huge and really underlined to our season.
Lastly, for me, as you head down the stretch here, what steps can the Spiders take that you think they haven't taken yet?
Well, defensively, we really haven't dominated on defensive lately. We've been just good enough to get over the hump, and I feel like with these last 5 games going into the end of the season, going into conference tourney in Brooklyn, we really need to key in on our defense and get back to, we're still number 1, but really establishing ourselves and keeping at this height of defense instead of dropping low.
You mentioned about Neil being aggressive. We've heard that a lot, either from a teammate or from coach. How do you balance as a guard trying to get him the ball? How do you balance wanting him to be aggressive early, but not trying to force him to be aggressive in certain situations?
Oh, we're just always emphasizing to him, if he's aggressive first, that's when his passes will open up. We all know Neil's a great passer. He's a great facilitator. He can play out of the post. He can play from the elbow, but everything opens up after he's trying to score. You know, guys, they can kind of play off of him when he's just looking to pass, and it makes it easier for him to be guarded. Whereas if he's trying to get to the rim, doing his stab or his floater or he's finishing, then the cuts are going to open because his guy has to respect him a little bit more.
How much fun are you and the guys having right now being in a situation where you don't have to worry about anybody else's results and you just take care of your business? You can win the regular season title and have that.
A lot of fun because the main thing has stayed the main thing, and that's winning, and we've been able to do that. But where fun comes, I feel like satisfaction can come as well. But I feel like that's one thing about this group. We're not satisfied. You know, it's still a lot of basketball left. Even if it may be 5 games, it's still a lot of basketball left. And we have to key in on that and take one game at a time.
What is the key for tomorrow against Davidson?
The key is going to be, we're teams that both like to run our sets. You know, and I feel like it's going to come down to late in the shot clock. You know, and one area we've kind of struggled on lately is rebounding the ball and giving teams second chance opportunities. So I feel like it's going to come down to giving them one try and playing late in the shot clock and seeing who's going to be able to come out on top with a rebound or whoever's going to be able to score.
How different, if at all, is it seeing a team second time around? You did it with GW, and now you'll do it with Davidson.
It's very different because you can make all the adjustments you want, but at the same time, you've played this team before, and of course, playing there is different than playing here, so you got the advantage there. But you know, you've seen their guys before. You know what they're gonna do. You know who's gonna do what, but you never know whose night is gonna be. So that's why you gotta really come in, key in, listen to the scout, and control what you can control.
I know it's a home game, but what does it say about you guys that you're now 6-1 in conference road games?
It says this team we can accomplish big things when we're all together, and whether we're here or whether we're away. You know, winning basketball games either way is hard, and we've done that on the road. We've done that at home. So it just goes to show what type of team we are.